This is the third part of my story, the story of how my feelings for my boss, Claire, grew even stronger. I never expected my first real crush to feel like this. Not gentle or soft, but electrifying, overwhelming, something that made my heart race before I could even understand it. And I certainly never expected it to be for a woman, for Claire. Working alongside her always felt like walking a delicate line between desire and discipline. Every morning, I reminded myself to stay calm, professional, composed. But now, as we prepare to travel together to Chicago, everything feels different. The excitement, the anticipation, the closeness we share. It's intoxicating. I can't stop thinking about the hotel room waiting for us, the city lights, the candles, and the quiet moments where it will be just the two of us. Every glance she gives me, every small touch, makes my pulse race. I know this trip will change everything. The morning at the office felt ordinary, until Claire walked up to my desk, her heels clicking with that quiet confidence that always made my pulse rise. She stopped beside me, glanced at the documents I was working on, and then, softly, almost casually, said, "We're flying to Chicago tomorrow. It's a major meeting. I want you with me." My breath caught. A business trip. With her. Alone. The world suddenly became too bright, too sharp. We boarded an early flight. New York still slept behind the airport windows. Claire took the seat next to mine, close enough that I felt the warmth of her shoulder. During takeoff, she glanced at me, her voice softer than usual. "Try to relax. We'll have a productive trip." But the way she looked at me, it wasn't just business. And the entire flight, I kept wondering, does she feel the same? Chicago greeted us with wind and sunlight reflecting in the river. We walked after the meeting, not rushing, just together. Claire ordered coffee for both of us, without even asking what I wanted. She already knew. We wandered through the quiet streets, stopping by the river. For a moment, she stood close behind me. Too close for it to be accidental. I felt her breath on my neck, and I knew something is changing. The cafe was quiet, filled with the warm smell of roasted coffee and something sweet baking behind the counter. Claire and I sat close, our laptops open, documents spread out between us as we prepared for the upcoming conference. I tried to focus on the numbers, the charts, the strategy. But every time Claire leaned a little closer to point at the screen, her shoulder brushed mine, and my thoughts scattered like spilled sugar. She looked completely composed, elegant, confident, the perfect executive. But then she'd glance at me from under her lashes, just for a moment, and something soft and secret flickered in her eyes. "Are you nervous?" she asked quietly. I nodded, unable to lie. She smiled, that warm, private smile she gave only to me, and her fingers gently touched my wrist under the table, hidden from everyone. "Don't worry," she whispered. "I'm right here." And my whole world pulsed at those words. Our lunch was simple: 2 salads, a shared plate of bruschetta, and the soft light of a Chicago afternoon spilling through the cafe windows. We reviewed the agenda one last time, our knees brushing under the small wooden table. Claire tapped her pen lightly, thinking. then looked at me with that focused, unreadable expression she used in the office. But here, there was something warmer hiding underneath. "You're ready for this," she said softly. "More than you think." Her confidence in me made my chest tighten. I wanted to lean closer, to tell her how much it meant, but I couldn't. Not here. Not when everything between us was already trembling with the things neither of us dared to say out loud. Just then, 2 colleagues from the Chicago branch walked into the cafe. They greeted us, pulled up chairs, and the atmosphere shifted instantly into business mode. Documents spread across the table, numbers, strategy, talking points. I forced myself to focus, to look composed, pressed into the role of a professional. Claire sat close beside me, her shoulder almost touching mine. She listened carefully to the team, nodding, asking precise questions, her usual confidence on full display. But then, under the table, her knee brushed mine again. A deliberate, quiet reminder. I'm here, with you. While one of the colleagues explained market projections, Claire picked up her pen and slid her notepad slightly toward me. I thought she was about to write something technical. Another figure, another task. Instead, without looking down, still maintaining eye contact with the colleague speaking, she drew the smallest, softest heart in the corner of the page. Tiny, quick, hidden. A secret meant only for me. My breath caught. My cheeks warmed instantly, and I prayed no one noticed. I kept my face as neutral as I could, nodding at something someone said, but inside 1,000 hearts exploded at once, fluttering like wild wings against my ribs. Claire didn't look at me. She didn't need to. The message was already burning in my chest. And for the rest of the discussion, the numbers, the forecasts, the timelines, all I could feel was that little heart between us, quiet, forbidden, and impossibly tender. The conference room on the 54th floor was bright, modern, intimidating. Executives from the partner company entered with practiced smiles, but Claire transformed. Calm, precise, brilliant. I watched her lead the meeting with flawless confidence, her voice low, steady, commanding the entire room. At one point she looked at me, asking, "Mia, would you walk them through the data model?" My throat tightened, but I nodded. And when I spoke, she smiled, proud, soft, like she believed in me more than I believed in myself. The reception hall shimmered with warm light and soft jazz. Everyone from the conference was there, holding glasses of wine, talking in small groups. But the moment Claire entered, everything else blurred. She wore a black dress, simple, elegant, and devastating in the way it framed her confidence. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, yet everyone turned to look. I watched her from across the room, pretending to be interested in a conversation I wasn't actually hearing. My eyes kept drifting back to her, the way she moved, the way she smiled politely at colleagues, the subtle strength in her posture. And then she looked at me, Not a casual look, a look that found me instantly, as if she had been searching. Her gaze softened, a tiny smile curved her lips, the kind meant only for me. My heart fluttered so violently I had to steady my glass. A bit later, she approached, standing close enough that her perfume brushed against my skin. Her hand grazed my lower back, light, hidden, invisible to everyone except the two of us. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly, her voice warm, intimate. "More than okay," I whispered. She held my eyes for a long moment, a moment that said everything we weren't allowed to say out loud. Later, when the reception began to quiet down, Claire and I slipped out to the terrace overlooking the city. Chicago glowed below us. Golden lights, dark river, the hum of a distant night. It felt like we were suddenly alone in the world. Claire stood beside me, her shoulder brushing mine. Neither of us spoke, but the silence between us was full, warm, trembling, alive. Then she reached for my hand. Just a small movement, soft, careful, but undeniable. Her fingers intertwined with mine, hidden between our bodies so no one inside could see. I felt her exhale, a slow, vulnerable breath. "This feels impossible," she whispered. I turned to her. "Then why does it feel so right?" Our eyes held each other. The world shrank, and before I could think, she brushed her thumb over my hand. The gentlest stroke, sending a wave of heat up my spine. No kiss. Not yet. But in that moment, it didn't matter. We both knew. Something between us had already begun. Something real, something dangerous, something beautiful. The city lights of Chicago blurred past the taxi window, spilling gold and amber onto the wet streets. I sat beside Claire, my heart racing, my chest tight, every glance at her sending sparks through me. The night air, even through the slightly cracked window, seemed to hum with possibility. I could hardly breathe, not from the evening's wine, but from the dizzy, exhilarating pull of wanting her, of being near her. She didn't say much, just smiled occasionally, her hand brushing mine ever so slightly, as if it were accidental. But I knew it wasn't. Every tiny touch was a message, a promise. As the taxi slowed in front of the hotel, my stomach fluttered. Claire turned to me, her eyes soft, unreadable, but alive with intention. She hesitated, just for a heartbeat, then turned to me. "There's no need to book 2 rooms," she said quietly. "If you're comfortable, you can stay with me tonight." Her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Not authority, not confidence, but desire, and something deeper. My breath caught. I whispered, "Yes." The door to Claire's suite opened, and I stepped inside, breath catching at the sight. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city below, Chicago alive with 1,000 lights, glittering against the dark sky. The suite smelled faintly of polished wood and subtle perfume, warm and inviting. Claire moved with ease, confident and graceful. She gestured for me to sit on the plush cream-colored sofa, then disappeared briefly, returning with a bottle of deep red wine and 2 crystal glasses. "Thought we could celebrate a little," she said, pouring the wine, her fingers brushing mine ever so slightly. That tiny touch sent a jolt through me. We settled on the sofa, the city lights dancing in her eyes and in the glasses in our hands. I felt my chest tighten, my pulse quicken. Here, with her, everything felt both real and impossible at once. "I've never told anyone this," she began, her voice soft, eyes reflecting the night below. "But I used to spend summers at my grandmother's lake house. I'd sneak out at dawn, just to watch the sunrise, feeling like the world was all mine." I laughed softly, picturing her small, determined self sneaking past sleepy relatives. "I can imagine it," I said. "You, plotting little adventures even then." She smiled, the corners of her eyes crinkling, and I realized I could look at her forever. "You'd like to know what else I did?" she teased, leaning slightly closer. I nodded, heart fluttering, caught in the warmth of her presence. We talked about childhood dreams, favorite books, hidden fears, and silly habits. Our voices dropped low, gentle, sharing pieces of ourselves we'd never given anyone else. Every so often, our hands brushed as we reached for the glasses. Not accidental, not forced, just natural. I felt a profound closeness, a spiritual intimacy, as if the space between us had shrunk, leaving only the two of us in a private world of trust and understanding. When I laughed at one of her stories, she leaned closer, her shoulder touching mine, a light warmth that made my stomach spin. I realized then that this quiet evening, her presence, her laughter, her honesty, was more intoxicating than any wine. The city outside shimmered, the lights reflecting in her eyes, and I felt a deep, unexplainable connection. Something beyond desire, beyond first love, something infinite. After a few quiet minutes, sipping wine and talking, the conversation softened. The city lights outside shimmered against the windows, painting the room in gold and silver. I could feel Claire's gaze on me, steady, warm, almost magnetic. She set her glass down and leaned back slightly, studying my face. I tried to focus on the city, on anything but her. But it was impossible. Every movement she made, every slight shift of her body, pulled me closer. "I'm glad you're here," she said softly, her voice low, almost a whisper. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't answer with words. I didn't need to. My eyes met hers, wide, vulnerable, yet longing. She leaned closer, the air between us thick with anticipation. Her hand brushed mine on the sofa, lingering just a moment too long. I could feel the warmth, the electricity. "May I?" she asked, almost shyly, and I nodded, breathless. Then her lips met mine, soft, deliberate, gentle at first, testing the waters. My hands found her arms, pulling her slightly closer. The kiss deepened, urgent and tender at the same time. Every worry, every hesitation melted away. The world outside ceased to exist. There was only this moment, only her, only us. When we finally pulled apart, just slightly, our foreheads rested together. My chest heaved, my heart was racing, and I realized this was more than desire. This was intimacy, trust, and a connection I had never felt before. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and warmth. "I've wanted to do that for a long time," she murmured. I smiled, dizzy from anticipation, from love, from everything she made me feel. "Me too," I whispered, my voice trembling slightly. The city lights reflected in her eyes again, and in that private world of ours, I knew this was only the beginning. The night was deep, and Chicago stretched below us, a sea of sparkling lights. Claire leaned closer, her voice low, intimate. "I have a surprise for you," she whispered. Her hand found mine, warm, firm. Her thumb brushed my knuckles, and then, softly, she pressed her lips to the back of my hand, a gesture of tenderness, trust, and something more. My heart skipped. She led me to the bathroom. The door opened to reveal a luxurious jacuzzi, warm water rippling, rose petals floating, candles flickering in soft golden light. Panoramic windows framed the dazzling city skyline. "I want this moment to be ours," Claire said, her eyes locked on mine. My pulse raced. I had never seen her like this before, bare, radiant and breathtaking, and for the first time, I was bare too. But I felt no shame, only a burning desire that matched hers. She stepped closer, the heat between us undeniable. Our fingers brushed in the water, lingering, exploring. A silent conversation. Eyes met, lips hovered near each other, and then she leaned in, pressing her mouth softly to mine. Every touch sent shivers through me. Every glance held 1,000 unspoken words. I felt the raw power of my first real love, intense and consuming, mirrored in her every move. The world outside no longer existed. Only us, the warm water, the candlelight, and the night city spread out behind the glass. Time slowed as we sank into the jacuzzi together. Her hands traced my shoulders, my back, every movement deliberate, tender, electrifying. I shivered when her lips met mine again, softer this time, a question and a promise intertwined. It was the first time I had ever seen her completely bare, and the sight ignited something wild inside me. I no longer cared about hesitation or shame. All that existed was desire, trust, and the unbelievable closeness of sharing this moment with the woman I had fallen for. Every kiss, every touch, every glance deepened the connection between us. It was a first love, raw and consuming, filled with trust, passion, and something that couldn't yet be named. But I knew I would follow it anywhere, for as long as it lasted. I had fallen in love, truly, quietly, deeply, beautifully. And no matter how hard I tried to convince myself otherwise, I knew this story had already changed me. What happened next? How did our relationship grow? What unfolded after our trip to Chicago? I'll tell you in the next part. Because my story is only just beginning.